Oh, wait a second. Okay, right. So yeah. So last time we were up to the next page, I think. Right. Uh, yeah. So we talk about the assumptions and yeah, just very quick recap. The assumption of monopoly. You only have one seller in the market. Okay, that's why when we are studying monopoly, we are trying to study the most extreme cases. Okay, where there is only one monopoly, and in the reality is very difficult to happen. Okay, this way, and that's why for monopoly and perfect competition, they are usually used for study the behavior of the market. Okay, rather than using that to really look at what 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 the reality is. Okay, yeah. And for the assumption, we know that for monopoly, yeah, there's only one seller in the market, and also there's no close substitutes. Okay, so that means you are the only one selling that one particular good. Okay, or the good that you are selling is so superior. Okay, there's no close substitutes that can compete with you. Okay, right? Okay, so that's what. Yeah, they're basically the same. All right. Yeah, and at the end, right, of the assumption you have, yeah. So when you talk about monopoly, there's always a very big barriers of entry or barriers to entry. Okay. Yeah. So these are all the characteristics we can see from a monopoly. Okay, so when we are trying to discuss about monopoly, this is what we have to focus on. Okay, yeah, all the assumptions, all three assumptions here. Okay, for each of the market structure, we all have a set of assumptions that we have to follow. Okay, yeah, so that will facilitate the study of this market structure. Okay, yeah, and last week we took a look of some examples of some very classic monopoly. Okay, so here you have a South African, electricity supplier, Eskom. Okay, and well, De Beers, pretty sure, yeah, you know the brand already, right? The Diamond Company, a very classic example of monopoly. Okay, right? And also, when you talk about Hong Kong, when you think about railways, okay, MTR, that's the one. You see, single seller, no close substitutes. Yeah, have a very huge barrier of entry. Well, we'll discuss about barriers of entry very soon. Okay, but yeah, they are the examples, and feel free to use them in your exam. Okay, let's say paper one, right? You have to use examples in paper one, so they are some examples for you. Okay, right? But at the same time, do you know this brand right here, Luxottica? Do you know this brand? Anyone? Have you heard about this brand? No? Okay, yeah. Well, from time to time, I'm pretty sure you have seen this brand, but because they're so sneaky, and that's why you're not aware of this brand. They are actually everywhere. Okay, yeah. Well, let's take a look of this video um, together, and you will know much more about this brand. Okay, I'm going to copy this link to the chat box here. Okay, so go take a look. Yeah, go watch it. Okay, so after you have watched the video, then yeah, then you know pretty much like why sometimes when you are buying glasses or sunglasses, they are so expensive, even though they shouldn't be that expensive when you look at the products, right? Just a metal frame or plastic frame with two pieces of glass, and yeah, they charge you a very high price because you thought there were so many brands out there, but so many brands, they were controlled by this single company right there. Okay, so Luxottica is basically a monopoly, glasses monopoly in the US. Okay, in the Asian countries, because we have some more competitors, and that's why yeah, the dominance of Luxottica is not that much. Okay, but if you talk about the US, they control all the stores for selling glasses. They control basically all the cheap brands and luxury brands of glasses, and they also control the insurance company for you know yeah, optical insurance, right? And that's why, okay, they are so powerful, right? So that's why they can control the prices, okay, very much, have a very high degree of market power. So this is what we are trying to say. When you see a monopoly, then you see they have a huge market power, okay? Yeah, they can control the price pretty much, okay, without anyone to stop them, right? Because that's the only shop that we can get for the glasses, right? So that one is a very good example. That one is a very good example. If you want to know more about this company, if you are studying business as well, and this case is one of the best cases in monopoly. Okay, so if you want to know more information, you can go to YouTube and watch. I think they have some 60 minutes you know show on YouTube, and that show is pretty good. Yeah, about Luxottica. Okay. Yeah. Right. Okay. So they are the characteristics and examples. Here you got it. And wow, it's getting dark. Oh, sorry. Let me turn on the lights. Okay. All right. So, yeah. So now we know the basic assumptions of monopoly. Then, yeah, we have to talk about the barriers of entry or barriers of to entry, right? So here I have 5 cases. So let's say if you are trying to start up your business, as one of them. Okay. So what do you think? Would you see? You see there as barriers of entry. So if you're trying to start up an electric car production company, what kind of barriers of entry would you see here if you're trying to start up an electric car production company? Yeah, what are the barriers of entry? So, yeah. So with that being said, when you are trying to set up this kind of company, then there will be some difficulties that will prevent you getting into this industry. So, what will be the difficulties? Anyone? Hello. Okay. Yeah. The machinery required to build cars. Okay. Yeah. Let's say the automation. The automation. Okay. Yeah. The robots and everything. They are so expensive. Okay. Yeah, because they're so expensive. So when you are trying to start up an electric car business, it's difficult. Yeah, you might not have that much money for the startup cost. Okay, right? And also the technologies and everything. Okay, so number one, okay, yeah, so you can tell in an electric car industry, they should have a very big barriers of entry. Okay, so what about number two? So if you're trying to start up a water company, so what would be um, the barriers of entry? Number two. Come on, guys. Hello. Yeah, I know it's early in the morning. Yeah, could be water. Okay, because you cannot get water like everywhere. Okay, and yeah, filtration stuff. Okay, and also right, yeah, you need to use government equipment, or if you want to build one yourself. Okay, yeah, usually you have to take permission from the government, and also yeah, the system, the pipelines, everything, they're very expensive. Okay, and you can tell the process of getting into like a water supply industry is very complicated. Okay, right? So number two, a huge barrier of entry. Okay, yeah, huge barriers of entry. Okay, what about number three? Yeah, companies selling Bruno Mars music online, right? License, right? Yeah. Anything else? Anything else? You guys listen to Bruno Mars? Maybe not. Technology could be, yeah, but that one there should it be that difficult in terms of technology. Okay, so I would say is mainly uh, license. Okay, it's mainly licensing. So for number three, it should be a bit easier. It should be a bit easier to start up a business like that, right? What about number four? Yeah, let's say you want to become uh yeah, right. Let's say yeah, tech talker. You know, trying to be famous in Instagram or Snapchat. Yeah. So yeah, what would be the barriers of entry if you? Yeah, could be. It could be. Yeah, I think Ryan, you're trying to say the competitors, maybe. Yeah, could be, right? Could be because there are so many famous well, yeah, the people who are in social media, and that's why they can be the barriers of entry, right? Because they have all the viewers, and if you are trying to start up a business like this, well, you know, no one would watch your video, or yeah, things like that. So yeah, so that could be some barriers of entry as well. And for number five, diamond mining company. Well, we all know, yeah, the barriers of entry for that one. Okay, the mine, right? Do you have, mines for that? And also, do you have enough diamond, yeah, for sale, okay, in the market? So number five, yeah, the natural resources. Okay, that would be a huge barrier of entry for number five. Okay, so yeah, so basically when you think about barriers of entry, okay, so there are all kinds of barriers of entry in different uh, industries or markets. Okay, right? Okay. Wow, I don't know if it's the same for you guys. The sky is all dark. Jesus. All right, it's like now we are at night. Okay. Anyway, um, okay. No, it's not just cloudy. It's completely dark. It's like a storm is approaching or something. Yeah. Well, anyway. So yeah. Close the windows. Okay. Yeah. Pretty sure a huge rain is coming very soon. Okay. Yeah. Right. Okay. Yeah. And here you can take a look of some general barriers of entry. Okay, so there, okay, we discuss a little bit, yeah, about the concept of barriers of entry, and then when we really want to write about barriers of entry, we have a few examples that you can use. Okay, and yeah, so take a look of this, right? Economy of scale, legal barriers. Well, yeah, I think we talked about that. Yeah, in the discussion above, and branding. Yeah, this one we talk about this as well. Control of resources. Yeah, we did, right? And aggressive tactics. Well, we can talk about this later. And also one more thing, natural monopoly. Okay, we are going to discuss this one in detail very soon. Okay, yeah. So talking about economy of scale, why they are barriers of entry? Economies of scale. Why? So when you are able to get economies of scale, then you create a barrier to entry. So why is that? Anyone? Yeah, exactly. Right? So we know that if you have economy of scale, you have to the size of your firm has to become bigger and bigger, and yeah, and because of that, you can enjoy a lower average cost, right? So Michelle has yeah, the right idea. Okay, if you are able to enjoy a lower average cost, then yeah, the cost of production is getting lower, and at the end, your price can be set at a lower level, so that the small companies, they cannot compete with you when they are setting up the prices. Okay, so they cannot even cover their costs, right? Because you are setting your price at a very low level, right? And they cannot, because they're not big enough. So at the end, they will be eliminated by the market, so they cannot even get in, right? So that's very good. Okay, so yeah, so here one thing, okay, lower average cost, and that's why it leads to lower prices, right? And there's also one thing, and there's also one thing. Okay, let's say those new firms, they decided to compete. Okay, they decided to compete. Okay, in this market, but think about this: if you decide to compete, then you have to develop yourself as big as your competitor in order to, have a fair competition. If you do that, then yeah, you can see the second barrier. Okay, so now you decided to compete, and you will see that if you have to build up your company as big as your competitor, okay, there will be a huge startup cost for you. Okay, because yeah, the existing monopoly. Okay, yeah, let's say now we have a huge economy of scale, and that's why they should be very big. And if you want to compete, then you have to establish your business as big as that existing firm. Okay, so yeah, so there will be a huge startup cost, and it will be very undesirable for you as an investor. Okay, so that's why either you decide to compete or not, there will be barrier. Okay, there will be some barrier. Okay, when you have economies of scale. Okay, right? So yeah, yeah. Okay, cool. So economy of scale, right? So basically, you can see a double barrier over this topic. Okay, and what about legal barriers? Can you give me some examples of legal barriers? We talked about license just now, right? Yeah, when we were trying to sell Bruno Mars uh, yeah, CDs online. What are the other legal barriers that you can tell me? Well, I have no idea what that is, Hendrik. What is that? Is that some sort of official term? Well, is it? Oh. Oh, you mean okay? You mean OPEC? Yeah, are you talking about OPEC? Yeah. This is what I'm looking for. Trademarks, patent, uh, yeah, that. Right. And also, yeah, could be franchise. Okay, yeah. So Ian, yeah, also has the right idea, right? Yeah. So yeah, okay, so I believe you now have, yeah, the idea with you. Okay, so just like that. Okay, yeah, legal barriers is when you are having patent, when you're having copyrights, when you're having licenses. Okay, etc. etc. When you have the franchise. Okay, you have the right to use someone's a brand, or you know, yeah, to sell their products and services. Then you enjoy. Okay, uh, 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 you know, a certain level of market power. Okay, and well, and that will give you a higher level of barriers of entry. Okay, so some of the points here, okay, they may not get you to a perfect monopoly. They may not get you into a pure monopoly, but they do increase the the level of barriers to entry. Okay, yeah. So let's say here legal barriers. Yes, it might not stop other competitors to compete with you, right? But it still increases the barriers, okay, to entry, right? So yeah, you just have to think about it this way, okay? They all increase, right, the level of barriers to entry, okay, right? Yeah, yeah. So when you talk about so many uh, like computer companies like IBM, IBM is the biggest company, you know, having the most patents numbers every year. Okay, yeah, because they are a technology company. They always have new ideas. They always have new products, new innovations, and that's why they always register themselves into different patents. And yeah, every year I think they have more than thousands of patents being registered. Yeah, for IBM, right? So they are trying to use that to create a huge barrier to entry. Okay, right? What about branding? Why branding can be some barriers of entry? Why? Why is this a barrier of entry? Branding. So why is that? For branding, yeah, reputation. Okay, yeah. So this one is very simple, right? When you talk about branding, it's all about your reputation, your brand image. Okay, all right. Yeah, it's raining. Sorry, let me close the window. Right. Yeah. So you're talking about brand image, and yeah, if you have a good reputation, brand image, then of course you can create a good customer loyalty. So people, they would rather buy your product, okay, than some other competitors, right? So you create, okay, yourself a barrier of entry, right? Just like Apple. Okay, so many mobile phone users, they use Apple because they believe Apple is more superior than other brands. Okay, and that creates a barrier. Okay, you see that barrier over there, right? And when you talk about sneakers, Adidas or Nike, yeah, they do have some sort of branding impact over there, and that's why people, when they're trying to get into that business, it's very difficult. Yeah, because people, they would rather buy Adidas, okay, than your brand, okay, because they like it. Yeah, yeah, right. So that's number three, and number four. Well, that one is very obvious. Okay, when you talk about De Beers, the diamond company, then okay, yeah, in the history, they used to dominate. They used to dominate the global diamond mines. Okay, yeah, in South Africa and also many different places, and that's why. Okay, they dominated the diamond market, okay, back then, right? And for number 5, aggressive tactics. So what kind of aggressive tactics do you think you can use to create a barrier to entry? What kind of aggressive tactics? Okay, bulk buying. Well, I think I would put that in economies of scale, right? Because that's one of the components. Okay, threaten retailers to just sell the item to them. Yeah, that could be. Yeah, that could be, right? When you watch that video, right, about Luxottica, then yeah, that could be one of the tactics. Okay. Uh, yeah, predatory pricing. If you study business, then yeah, you know what that is. Trying to sell your products using a very attractive pricing, right? Price war, yeah, similar to that. Yeah, and brand loyalty, I'm going to put that back to branding. Okay, and a takeover, yeah, that's good. Or you threaten your competitors, they will, you will take over the companies. Uh, yeah, dumping is basically the same. But when you talk about dumping, more technically, you're trying to use it in a more perspective of international trade. Okay, so you are, yeah, selling your products at a very low cost, okay, at a very low price to some other countries. Okay, yeah, right. And we will talk about dumping later when we are in international economics. Okay, right. Yeah, so yeah, aggressive tactics. Well, you guys have all the ideas already, right? Cutting prices. Yeah, well, you guys missed this. Heavy advertising, right? Some companies, yeah, they do everything to try to attract uh, the customers, right? Heavy advertising, try to take over the competitors, yeah, etc., etc. Okay, yeah, and also threatening the competitors, right? Uh, yeah, just like that. Okay, so they are all the barriers of entry. Okay, yeah, sometimes a single barrier of entry may not give you the opportunity to become a pure monopoly, but once again, they will create. Okay, they create a higher level of barrier of entry. That's why it's harder for your competitors to get inside this business. Okay, and at the end, possibly you will become the only supplier or the only seller in this company. Okay, no, in this market, right? Okay, yeah, and yeah, and also we have number 6, natural monopoly. Well, natural monopoly is a tricky concept, and I'm going to leave it later on. Okay, we'll talk about this in detail. But for now, you just have to remember, natural monopoly is one of a huge barriers of entry. Okay, anyone who knows what that is, natural monopoly? Have you learned that in GCSE? I think so. Anyone who still remember what that is? No, no idea. All right, it's fine. Nature of the good. Not really. Not really. Yeah, something like electricity company, but yeah, because of yeah, for some reasons. Okay. Well, we will talk about that in the future. Okay. Right. Okay. Right. So let's go to the next one here. Okay. So let's take a look at this case here. Right. We are going back to school. Let's say. All right. And Miss Lam, you know who that is. All right. Has decided, there should be some competition. Right. For the cafe, and she decided to open another cafe in school. So let's call that cafe on the roof. Okay. So now you are going to expect there is one more competitor. So if you are the managers or if you are the directors of cafe on the hill, so what kind of anti-competitive practices are you going to use in order to stop this competitor getting into the market or from succeeding? What are you going to do to stop them being successful? So if you are, that this case here, you are basically trying to, uh, making yourself a monopoly, right, in school. But what tactics would you use to stop them? Any ideas? Remove the roof. Yeah, that's a good idea if you can do that. Yeah, if you can do that, then yeah, then that would be a great idea. But the fact is very likely that you cannot do that. Okay, Ryan. So, yeah, any other ideas that what we can do to stop them from being successful? Recruit their workers. Um, that okay, but that doesn't sound wise. A secret recipe, yeah, that could be right. Yeah, we can always make our own food. Okay, as long as we have the permission, right, from school, and if we have the secret recipes for some of the cafe on a hill special, then that might be, yeah, helping us to create a barrier. So okay, here's another one: threaten the school, you will stop your service if you okay. uh yeah, that one is quite realistic. Okay, yeah, but yeah, in the context of school, that is quite difficult to do that. But in the reality, if you have a huge level of market power or barriers of entry, then yeah, you can do that, right? But what about membership? What does it mean? Membership? What is that? Membership for? So are you talking about membership for Cafe on the Hill so that it creates customer loyalty? Okay, right. Yeah, 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 yeah. So yeah. So that soft skill can can be one of the tactics as well, right? Or we can try procure some brands that are very difficult to get. Okay, so if we do that, then we can you know have a very distinguished image, because even when they are competing with us, they don't have the very nice brand of food and drinks like we have. Okay, so yeah, that is something we can try working on as well, right? But very likely you will not see another competitor in school. Okay, so you are still a monopoly, right, as a cafe in school. Okay, right? That is bad, just like the canteen. Okay, yeah, wow. I kind of miss the food in canteen, right? Even though that is pretty much very awful, but yeah, yeah. I mean, I have to appreciate, like, you guys as a student, right, having that as lunch for 12 years possibly, right? It's pretty amazing. Okay, yeah, it really trains up your you know endurance for anything, right? Okay, so that all right. Anyway, okay, so right, so let's have a recap. Okay, a very quick recap. Okay, so when we talk about perfect competition in the short run, what is break-even price and what is shutdown price? Can you quickly give me the answer? Okay, in the short run, what is break-even price and shutdown price? Come on, where can we find them? Come on, guys. What, you guys forgot that already? Come on. Okay, shutdown price, right? Okay. Yeah, Andre, or you can just say, shutdown price, the minimum level of AVC, right? The minimum level of AVC, and yeah. Uh, so rate, I don't think that is, yeah, normal profit. That is a break-even price when you are earning normal profit. Then yeah, right? Okay. So yeah, or you can make it more precisely. Okay, so when the price is at the minimum level of ATC, then that is your break-even price. Okay, and when the price is at the minimum level of AVC, then that is your shutdown price. Okay, yeah, because we focus on the word price. Okay, the price. Yeah, right. Okay. What about a second question here? Like, okay, so what are the two limitations of perfect competition? Do you still remember? So when you are in a perfect competition, what could be the possible limitations? Because there are a few, yeah, more than two. But price taker, well, that I wouldn't say that is a limitation. Well, we have a set of limitations, but price taker is not really uh, 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 one of them. Yeah. Do you still remember? A perfect information. Well, that is more like characteristics than the limitation. We think about the assumption that we made in perfect competition. They are very unrealistic. Okay, so that is already one very big limitation from perfect competition. Okay, and also think about this. Okay, from a cost perspective, right? In perfect competition, it's very difficult to enjoy economies of scale, and there will be basically no R&D. Okay, there's no potential for R&D. Yeah, homogeneous products, right? As a consumer, we don't like just one identical good. Okay, we want to have some more variety. Okay, yeah, and yeah, and you can see, the difference immediately. Okay, so those are the limitations of perfect competition. But when you think about monopoly, yeah, economy to scale, definitely you can see that. And for R&D, very possibly, because now they always have the profit for R&D and all the technological innovation. And so that's why when you go back to the benefits and limitations of perfect competition, then you can actually when you turn all those benefits and limitations upside down, then they will be, okay, the benefits and limitations in monopoly. Okay, right? So they have such relationship. Okay, yeah, and okay. So here number three. Okay, so do you still remember the three assumptions of the monopoly model? Can you quickly tell me? Okay, one firm. Yeah, that's good. So that's one. And yeah, what about the other two? Okay, no close substitutes, right? You are selling that thing. Okay, just you. And yeah, barriers of entry. Well, we discuss a lot of barriers of entry, right? So that's good. So those three assumptions. And finally, can you just give me two examples of barriers to entry? Okay, enjoyed by monopolies. Okay, we just show you like six examples. So can you economies of scale? Yeah, that's good, right? One more. Come on, branding. Okay, yeah, there you go. Right, two of them. And yeah, when you see that in exam, try to elaborate. Okay, your examples. okay, and you'll be fine. All right. So yeah, that's all for the recap. And yeah, as we are having the same pattern as what we have done for perfect competition, then after the very basic introduction, then of course we need to know how to draw the diagrams, and you know how to draw them already. Okay, because I have told you there are only two sets of diagrams when we were learning this topic in part one. Okay, so it belongs to imperfect competition. Okay, so you just have to remember how you draw the diagrams for imperfect competition. Okay, so now here I'm just gonna have a very quick recap for how to draw the diagram. Okay, so okay, so tell me, so what does the demand curve look like in Monopoly? What does it look like? Come on. It's the same as the diagram you draw in imperfect competition. Okay, it's the same. So what does it look like? Do you still remember how to draw that? Yeah, downward sloping line, right? Okay. And the reason why is downward sloping line, okay? You see, one of the reasons that you have already known is because they have the power to control prices. Okay, so they are not restricted to just one price like perfect competition. Okay, yeah, right, because they are not price taker, they are price maker. Okay, and that's why they can choose the price that they want to sell for their products. And at the same time, there's another reason. So now we are going to know the second reason. The second reason is because we assume there's only one firm in the market, and that's why that monopoly is basically the entire market. Okay, so when you think about your diagrams for perfect competition, think about the diagram for the market. Okay, on the left hand side, right? It also has a downward sloping curve. Okay, because now monopoly is the market. Okay, so you are using that downward sloping curve. Okay, instead of having another set of firm diagram. Okay, and with two of the reasons together, then okay, that's why it's going to be downward sloping. Okay, right? Yeah, the firm demand curve is just the market demand curve. Okay, and also because of market power, then you can choose what price to sell for your products. Okay, right? Yeah. So here one another question. So if you, yeah, as a monopoly, you decided to raise up the price, so what will happen to the quantity demanded? What do you think? So if you raise up the price, what will happen to the quantity demanded? So now you're having a downward sloping demand curve. Yeah, will decrease for sure. Okay, so here the point I'm trying to make is that even if you are monopoly, okay, you have to follow the law of demand. Okay, yeah, just because you're a monopoly doesn't mean that the Q and P they are independent. They are not independent. Okay, even when you are monopoly. Okay, when you are setting up your price in a higher position, then you have to give up some quantity demanded. Okay, so that's the law. It doesn't really matter if you are a monopoly or not. You still have to follow this. Okay, right? So this is what we have to always bear in mind. Okay, just because we have so much market power doesn't mean that we don't have to follow the law of demand. Okay, yeah, yeah, and that's why we have to use that downward sloping demand curve. Okay, right? Yeah. So once again, in this case, right, when you think about imperfect competition, the diagram, the demand curve is equal to your price, right? That's normal, and the price is basically your average revenue, right? From the mathematics, you know that, okay? Yeah. But there's one thing missing. When we were talking about perfect competition, the demand curve is basically representing demand, average revenue, price, and also marginal revenue. Okay, but in this case, marginal revenue is not the same as demand curve. Okay, so what does the marginal revenue look like in this case? Yeah, so here we are just having a recap of what we have learned in part one. So what does it look like? The marginal revenue in monopoly. So now in monopoly is not the same as the demand curve. So where is that marginal revenue curve? Where is it? Do you still remember? Well, but that one would be the total revenue. Yeah, that would be the total revenue. But when we are talking about the marginal revenue, so yeah, it's like a tail. Remember? So yeah, if you go back to part one, then marginal revenue is, yeah, it's always steeper than AR, or the demand curve. Okay, it's always twice as steep as the demand curve. Okay, so if you still remember that, okay, right? And it can be proved by using mathematics, and that's optional. Okay, that's optional, right? If you, yeah, I think we discussed this once very quickly, but you don't need to know how to prove that. Okay, you don't need to know how to prove that. Okay, yeah, and you just have to use the second proof to show you understand why. Okay, the marginal revenue curve is always under the demand curve. Okay, and it is twice as steep as the demand curve. Okay, so take a look at this, right? Because now we are following the law of demand. Okay, when we are selling one more unit. Okay, let's look at the table here. Okay, we have to sell it at a lower price. Okay, and when we are selling at a lower price, so let's say we were selling one unit, and now we are trying to sell 2 units. Okay, and when we are selling it at a lower price, so here is $1 less. Okay, we are not only selling $1 less for the second unit, we are also selling $1 less for the first unit. And that's why the marginal revenue from 1 to 2 units is not 11, it's 10. Okay, because we also have to deduct the $1 loss from the first unit that we are going to sell. Okay, yeah. And yeah, same concept goes to here when we are selling from 2 to 3 units. Okay, yeah, you see here the product price, we are going to reduce it by 1. Okay, but the margin revenue is not going to be 10. Okay, because for the first 2 units we also have to reduce their price by $1, and that's why 10 minus 2, okay, which is equal to 8. All right, and that's why if you are using this concept, then you will see the marginal revenue the number is always lower than your product price. When you look at this, right, they're always lower than the product price when you are talking about the same output, and that's why the marginal revenue curve is always under the demand curve. All right. Yep. And yeah, I think that's all for now. And next lesson we are going to draw some diagrams, and we will keep talking about this topic. Okay, in more detail. All right. So that's all for now, and I'll let you go to the other subject. Okay. All right. Bye, guys. Bye bye.